Before DeMarcus Ware entered the NFL, a lot of teams didn't quite know what to think of him. He was considered a tweener in an era before the edge position was really perfected in the NFL, and he played his college ball at the tiny Alabama school Troy. But he dominated so much at the Sun Belt school and in pre-draft workouts that the Cowboys felt confident selecting him 11th overall in the 2005 NFL Draft. Ware quickly proved Dallas's confidence in him to be justified, as he put together a first ballot Hall of Fame career. I'm sorry, I'm being told that somehow DeMarcus Ware was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Regardless of what actually happened, DeMarcus Ware is a first ballot caliber player in my eyes. When putting together my predictions for the 2022 Hall of Fame class, I didn't even have to think about Ware. Every time I did it, he was already written in ink at the top of the list. He had a supremely dominant peak at a prime position, and he had the longevity to boot. He played for America's team, and he was a key piece to a Super Bowl champion. And it was a year without any other surefire guys like Peyton Manning or Troy Polamalu. He hit all the boxes, so I was utterly stunned when his name was not called during NFL honors. If you weren't equally stunned at Ware's exclusion, you will be after this video. Perhaps the most important criteria I have for Hall of Fame worthiness is a player being the best at his position for an extended stretch during his playing days. From 2005 through 2016, the course of Ware's career, he compiled 138.5 sacks, which was 11.5 more than any other player had during that time. He also led all defenders in quarterback hits and tackles for loss during that stretch of play. In Ware's 7-year peak from 2006 to 2012, he had 103 sacks, which led all players. In fact, only Reggie White and John Randall ever had more consecutive double-digit sack seasons than Ware's 7, even including Pro Football Reference's older sack numbers that date back to 1960. Overall, Ware had 8 such seasons in his career, which is the 7th most all-time. 5 of the 6 players ahead of him are already in Canton, while Julius Peppers will get there when he's eligible. And it's not as if Ware was just scraping by in regards to those numbers either. He had the high-end numbers as well. He is one of just 4 players since 1960 to have multiple seasons with 19 or more sacks. Deacon Jones has long been in the Hall, J.J. Watt is a guaranteed first balloter, and Mark Gastineau is not in due to having a short peak and career. Though I would argue he should be in, but that's a discussion for another day. Ware is also one of just 12 players to ever lead the league in sacks multiple times in his career. And surprisingly, his 19.5 sack 2011 season isn't one of them because Jared Allen just happened to put up 22 that year. As such, Ware has 2 first-place sack seasons, those being in 2010 and in 2008 when he finished second in Defensive Player of the Year voting, 1 second-place finish, and another third-place finish in 2007. And we can just look at volume numbers to build Ware's case too. He sits 9th on the NFL's official all-time sack list and 13th on PFR's unofficial list. Every other player in the top 10 of the former and the top 15 of the latter are currently in the Hall or ineligible for it. Another way to express Ware's excellence is in his fast start. Only Reggie White had more sacks since 1982 in a player's first career 112 games, which goes to the end of Ware's 2011 season. Go through Ware's 11.5 sack 2012 season, and he has the 3rd most sacks through a player's first 128 games. Behind just perhaps the GOAT defensive player ever, and the player with the most sacks ever. Good company. Basically any number of games you throw out, Ware will be among the top 3. And Ware retired while he still clearly had quite a bit left in the tank. He played 178 career regular season games, and his 138.5 sacks are the 3rd most through a player's first 178 games. He's only further behind on the all-time list because he decided to hang him up earlier. He's one of the greatest pass rushers in football history, point blank. Oh, and it also only took Ware 113 games to reach the milestone of 100 career sacks, which only White ever bested. Now, disclaimer, we don't have game data for the sack artists of the 60s and 70s, only year data. So let's see where Ware stacks up in that department as well. In a player's first 7 seasons since 1960, only Deacon Jones and Reggie White had more sacks than Ware. In first 12 seasons, only those 2 and Bruce Smith had more. So, okay, once again the point stands. Now let's take a gander at some per season and per game averages. My good friend Sam Teets put together this great Google spreadsheet, which I will link in the description below, that includes the top 251 unofficial sackers in NFL history, and every active player with at least 35 sacks. This comprehensive sheet details everything you could want to rank sackers on, even surpassing what StatHead is capable of. Among these players, DeMarcus Ware has the 6th most sacks per season ever, averaging 11.54. Two of the players ahead of him, TJ Watt and Myles Garrett, have only played 5 years apiece, so I'm inclined to exclude them from this discussion for the time being, as their numbers will inevitably drop with time. That would leave Ware behind only Reggie White, Deacon Jones, tired of hearing those names yet, and Aaron Donald, all of whom have legitimate cases as being the greatest defensive player ever. Unsurprisingly, it's a similar story with the per-game numbers. Ware averages .778 sacks a game, which is 6th most behind TJ Watt, Deacon Jones, Myles Garrett, Reggie White, and Mark Gastineau. Or it ranks 4th once again if we don't include the youngsters. Yup, he ranks ahead of Bruce Smith, Lawrence Taylor, and Jason Taylor, all of whom were first ballot Hall of Fame pass rushers. I don't know what else to say other than that you should all follow Sam on Twitter at Sam_Teets33 and subscribe to his Substack for his hard work on this project, as he consistently puts out great content. But enough about sacks. In today's age, we always hear about how sacks don't tell the whole story of a pass rusher, which is true, although over a long period of time like what we've been discussing, they're pretty meaningful. But I digress. Pro Football Reference has TFL data back to 1999, and Ware has the 4th most over that stretch of play. His league-leading 27 TFLs in 2008 is 6th most in a single season, and his 26 in 2011 ranks 7th. He's one of just 3 players to lead the NFL 3 separate times in the stat, alongside JJ Watt and Michael Strahan. According to Pro Football Focus's tracking, Ware led the NFL in total pressures on the QB in both 2007 and in 2009 when he boat raced the competition with a career-high 84. He also ranked 3rd in back-to-back years in 2010 and in 2011, and he had a 5th place finish in 2006. In the PFF era, which dates back to 2006, Ware ranks 3rd among all players with 666 career pressures. Among the 31 players with 500 or more career pressures, Ware's per-game average of 4.1 slots in behind just Aaron Donald, J.J. Watt, Von Miller, and Khalil Mack, the first 3 of whom should all already be guaranteed first ballot status, while Mack likely needs just another good year or 2 to lock up a spot in Canton. Now when it comes to PFF's actual play-by-play grading, Ware's absurd dominance over his peers only shines even brighter, if that's even possible. Just look at this stretch of play. In 2006, Ware ranked 2nd among edge defenders. In 2007, he was 1st. In 2008, he was 2nd to James Harrison. In 2009, he was 1st once again. In 2010, he ranked 2nd. And in 2011, he had a precipitous drop-off all the way to 4th place with an 86.8 grade. For those who lost track, that's 6 straight years ranking in the top 4 at his position, and 5 straight years in the top 2. Ware also has the clutch playoff performances and the memorable moments to add to his already strong case. He may have lost a step in his final years in Denver, but he still came through when it mattered most. He made game-changing plays in each of the Broncos' 3 playoff games in their 2015 championship season. In the divisional round against the Steelers, he sacked Ben Roethlisberger on a 4th and 5 with under 2 minutes to go, effectively ending the game for Pittsburgh. He then had 11 pressures in the AFC Championship game against Tom Brady and the Patriots, which was just 1 shy of his career high. And in Super Bowl 50 against the Panthers, he was part of the unit that relentlessly harassed Cam Newton all night as he notched 8 pressures and 2 sacks. The Cowboys as a team never had much playoff success during Ware's tenure, but he performed when they did make an appearance, such as when he took down the opposing passer 3 times in the 2009 postseason. Perhaps Ware's most impactful game came earlier that season, as he played a key role in helping Dallas knock off the then 13-0 Saints on the road. He notched his first sack with under a minute to go in the first half, forcing a Drew Brees fumble, which led to a Nick Folk field goal. Then, with New Orleans driving in Cowboys territory while down 7 with under 12 seconds remaining, Ware stole the ball from Brees once more, ending the game for good. And when it comes to memorable moments, look no further than DeMarcus Ware's signature spin move. Well, I guess the spin move is no longer Ware's most remembered move because he perfected it so well that he also invented the fake spin move, which he executed flawlessly against Joe Staley in 2014. That alone should have granted him first ballot status. I'm only half joking. So let's see. Box score stats, he's got them. Advanced stats, he's there too. Grades based off of film, top of the line as well. So what about accolades? Ware was named to 9 Pro Bowls in his career. That's tied for the 7th most all-time among outside linebackers and defensive ends. Among the 12 players at those positions with 9 Pro Bowls, Ware's 4 first-team All-Pros ranks 8th, and everyone ahead of him is in the Hall. In fact, Ware is one of just 84 players ever across all positions to be named to 9 Pro Bowls. 12 of those 84 players are currently ineligible for the Hall. Of the 72 players eligible, only 5 have yet to be enshrined in Canton: Maxie Bond, Reuben Brown, Walt Sweeney, Jim Tyrer, and of course DeMarcus Ware. I know how we all feel about Pro Bowls, but considering 93% of players who have hit that threshold are in Canton, it's a pretty good barometer in this case. The outliers should all be in. And I don't want to disparage anyone here because they were all tremendous players who deserve to be honored in the Hall of Fame someday, but we have to look at the class of 2022. Ware had at least 2 more Pro Bowls than all 5 of the modern era enshrinees. And the only player among that bunch who played fewer seasons than Ware was Tony Baselli. The only player to match Ware on first-team All-Pros was Leroy Butler, but he had 0 second-team appearances compared to Ware's 3. Ware has as many total All-Pro appearances as Sam Mills and Bryant Young combined. He also has 2 more Pro Bowls and 2 more All-Pros than Richard Seymour. Ware also has the highest approximate value of the bunch. My guess is that the Hall of Fame voters use this relative down year to put in a lot of the guys who have been waiting for a while, like Butler and Mills, who either likely wouldn't make it in a more crowded class or wouldn't have another chance to.
I don't know what went into that process. I met the criteria to be selected, but I wasn't.
DeMarcus Ware was the most deserving player up for the Hall of Fame in 2022. And that's all that should matter. I just laid out over the past 10 minutes or so why Ware was not only the greatest pass rusher of his era, but also why he was one of the most dominant in the annals of NFL play. His peak rivaled that of the most fearsome defenders the league has ever seen, and he sustained that elite level of play for nearly a decade straight. It's a shame that DeMarcus Ware was not named a first ballot Hall of Famer, because he met all of the established criteria. But that's the past and nothing can change that now. All we can do now is push to make sure voters don't make the same mistake next year. DeMarcus Ware will be in the Hall of Fame in 2023.